Hello everyone, I am Vamshiraj Kunchala. Today we are going to discuss about the advent of Europeans to India. Okay, let us start the class. So, even though India has a long trading history with the Europeans, Africans, and Mid Asian people, and the Central Asian people, that is the Mid Asian people, and the Southeast Asian people, in the course of time, the many trading patterns has changed. That is, in ancient India, there was a direct access for Europeans to the Indian markets. But what happened after the fall of Roman Empire in the 7th century? After the fall of Roman Empire in the 7th century, the Arabs took total control of Egypt and Persia, by which the total land routes were monopolized by them. After that, in 1453, the Ottoman Turks occupied the Constantinople. Okay, in 1453, Ottoman Turks occupied the total Constantinople, by which total even sea route came under the monopoly of the Islamic rulers. If you see here in the map, see this is the Egypt and the Persia. Total. This total was under the control of Arabs by the 7th century, by which they controlled the all land routes, and this is the total Ottoman Empire. Almost it extended up to the Russian part, by which after the Constantinople came under the Ottoman Turks, even this total, the sea route of Red Sea, Mediterranean Sea, and these land routes came under the monopoly of Ottoman Turks, that is the Islamic rulers. So these made the Christian rulers, that is the European rulers, because European is majorly the Christianity. The Christian rulers thought that the Muslim domination has increased. We have to surpass that Muslim domination, and we have to get the total trade benefits directly from the East, that is from the India. And they came to know the what is the importance of trade, and also the what are the benefits. So they thought that we have to take the direct trading with the we have to do direct trading with the East, that is with the India. So made them this made them to find out the sea routes to India. Okay, I think you understand till the point. So what happened? By then, the Portuguese and the Spain are developed, more developed when compared to other nations in the Europe. And these two nations are Catholical nations and purely church nations. That is, they don't go beyond the church. Okay, so every other nations also encourage these nations to find out the sea routes to east. Okay, in this process, in this process, um, the Portuguese, the Portuguese got the right. The Portuguese got the right to find out the sea route to India. Okay, the then king of Portuguese, the Prince Henry, the then king of Portuguese, the Prince Henry established many naval schools in Portugal to give the training for the voyagers. Okay, so he is called as the navigator, and he also had a desire, strong desire to find out a sea route to India. In this process, he got an right to navigate to the east from the Pope Nicholas V. Okay, the Pope Nicholas V has conferred the Prince Henry the right to navigate to the east, and that is called as sea to the distant shores of Orient, which he received in 1454. What is the? It is called as sea to the distant shores of Orient. In 1454, he got it from Pope Nicholas V. Got it? By which Portuguese started the voyages to the east. Okay, this is the till the point. Then what is the order? What is the order of the Europeans coming to India? Okay, what is the order of Europeans coming to India? To India, the order of Europeans coming to is Portuguese came the first people, next Dutch, next English, next Danes, and next the French. Got it? And this is an important bit. We have to remember the sequence. So I will repeat once again. The first people are Portuguese, next are Dutch, next are English, next are Danes, and next is the French. Okay. So the Prince Henry, under the leadership of Prince Henry, the first voyage was taken by Bartholomew. Okay, Bartholomew, he is the first person to take the voyage to find out the sea route to India. The voyage started in 1487. He came up to the Cape of Good Hope, which will be here in the Africa, up to the Cape of Good Hope. After he reached into the Cape of Good Hope, the bad storms came. The weather was not good, and he thought that it is not better to go forward, and he returned back. While he returning back to Portugal, he named that place as Cape of Bad Storms. Okay, Cape of Bad Storms. In 1497, by knowing the importance of that place, that is the Cape of Bad Storms, the then king, the Victor Emmanuel, renamed it as the Cape of Good Hope. Got it? He renamed it as the Cape of Good Hope. And in the same year, 1497, under the patronage of King Victor Emmanuel, the Vasco da Gama started the voyage, and he reached the Indian coast, that is the Malabar coast, in 1498. The place is Calicut, Kerala. Okay. In the meanwhile, in the Malabar coast, before he reaching to the Malabar coast, near the Madagascar, a fisherman will help the Vasco da Gama to reach India. Okay. When he reached India, the Vasco da Gama, when he reached India, that is to the Kerala, the king of Calicut was a Hindu ruler named Zamarin. It's not their name. The rulers of the dynasty is called as Zamarin. So the king is Zamarin. And Zamarin does not have any apprehensions with regard to the Vasco da Gama. So ఆయనకి ఎటువంటి apprehensions లేవు Vasco da Gama గురించి. So the Vasco da Gama was free. Okay, he was there in the Zamarin court for 3 months. Meanwhile, I already said no, the Arabs are the mediators between the India and the Europe. So Arabs had a well-established trade and trade centers in India. They thought that if they allow these Portuguese person to stay in India, they might lose their monopoly and they might lose their trade. So they started spreading the rumors regarding this person. So slowly, the Vasco da Gama's life became better and better in India. So he thought of going back to the Portugal. So while going to Portugal, he took the goods worth of 1 lakh and he sold it in the European markets, and he earned 10 times. So he came to know the value of trade they are missing. Okay, so the next voyage after the Vasco da Gama, another trading voyage in 1500 was taken by Cabral. Okay, he also came for the trading. What happened? He is the person who first established a factory in Calicut. Cabral was the first person to establish a factory in Calicut. Meanwhile, what happened is some local people attacked the Cabral ship and destroyed it, robbed it. By knowing this, Cabral has started atrocities on Arabs, and he started destroying the Arab ships. So this news reached the Zamarin. There was a quarrel between the Zamarin and the Gebra. Meanwhile, the Raja of Cochin was an enemy of Zamarin. As we know that enemy's enemy is a friend. So Raja of Cochin was the enemy of Zamarin. Knowing this factor that Zamarin and the Gebral has a quarrel, Raja of Cochin invited the Gebral to establish a factory at Cochin. Got it? Next, after this voyage, Gabriel went back. In 1502, Vasco da Gama took another voyage and again came to India, but this time not as a trader. He came as a trader, okay, but not just taking simply the goods back to his country. Okay, in 1502, he came to India and he established a factory at Cochin and Cannanore. So he established a factory at Cochin and Cannanore. And even Vasco da Gama also asked Zamarin to expel the Arabs from his territory. Means we don't do any favors, cancel all the favors given to the Arabs. But what happened? Zamarin refused. By which Zamarin and Vasco da Gama got a quarrel. Zamarin was defeated. And this Vasco da Gama has committed many atrocities on dreadful atrocities on Arabs. Okay. After that, in 1503, he returned to the Portugal. In 1503, he returned to the Portugal. After this, after Vasco da Gama returning to the Portugal, the attitude of Portuguese changed. Till now, only they came as a traders. But from now, the Portuguese started to send governors, okay, from traders to some sort of ruling envoy, okay, sending governors for a fixed term of 3 years. Got it? From a fixed term of 3 years. So the Francis de Almeida is the first such governor to come to India from Portugal. Got it? He came for the term of 3 years in 1505. Okay. He was ordered to build fortresses at Anjanadevi, Cochin, Cannanore, and Kilwa. Okay, where were Anjanadevi, Cochin, Cannanore, and Kilwa. Okay, till then they built only factories. From right now, fortresses. We all know that forts are built for defensive purposes and many other purposes. Got it? So, what happened is, in 1507, he was defeated by Zamarin with the help of Egypt, Arabs near Chal Islands. Okay. So, in 1507, the Zamarin with the help of Arabs and the Egypt near Chal Islands defeated the Almeida. In this war, the Almeida's son dies. To take the revenge, he again attacks them in 1509 and defeats complete Muslim fleet near Diu, and he will die. Okay, his policy is known as blue water policy. Here we have to remember, this is the most important point. His policy is known as blue water policy. What is this blue water policy? The blue water policy is nothing but he want to have a monopoly in total Indian Ocean, Arabian Sea, and in the Bay of Bengal, mainly in the Arabian Sea and the Indian Ocean, to maintain the supremacy over the water. That is the blue water policy, also known as Cartesian system. Got it? So what are the things we have to remember in the Almeida? He was appointed in 1505 for the period of 3 years. He was the first governor from the Portuguese. Next, he was ordered to build fortresses at Anjanadevi, Cochin, Cannanore, and Kilwa. In 1507, he was defeated by Zamarin with the help of Arabs and Egypts at Chal Islands. In 1509, he defeated the complete Muslim fleet at Diu. That is the Battle of Diu. Got it? This is about the Almide. Next, after Almide, the next governor who came to India is Alfonso de Albuquerque. Okay, remember these are the Portuguese names. We pronounce in the English pattern. Their actual pronunciation will be different. Don't mind about it. Alfonso de Albuquerque. The next one is okay. His policy is known as white policy. What is his white policy? His policy is known as white policy. That is nothing but to maintain supremacy over land. Okay, what is the difference? Basically, understand Almide and Albuquerque. Almide want the strong naval power and want to maintain super naval power and to be a supreme in waters. Whereas Albuquerque want to maintain a strong army by which he can maintain the supremacy over land, which is known as white policy. Got it? I hope you understand. Next, Albuquerque sent Louis Fraser, okay, to the court of Sri Krishna Devaraya. Okay, to the court of Sri Krishna Devaraya. He will send Louis Fraser to the court of Sri Krishna Devaraya to get a help from Sri Krishna Devaraya. Okay, to occupy Goa, which is known as Revati Islands, which was under the control of Bijapur Sultan. Okay, you want to occupy it. And the Sri Krishna Devaraya accepts it and helps the Albuquerque, and Albuquerque occupies the Goa in 1510. Got it? In 1510. Another thing is, he introduced a permit system. What is this permit system? Permit system is nothing but wherever their ports are there, that is the Portuguese ports are there in India, to enter that port, a ship has to take the permission of the Portuguese. This pattern was introduced by Albuquerque. Next most important point is, he abolished the sati in his provinces. Okay, that is the provinces which are under the control of Portuguese. He abolished it. And he also introduced the crops like tobacco, cashew nut, potato, and etc. Alright, this is the thing about the Albuquerque. After the Albuquerque, after him, the next governor who came to India is Nuno da Cunha. Okay, he assumed his office in 1529 November. Okay, here we have to, the remembering point is, he shifted the headquarters of Portuguese from Cochin to Goa. Up to the Albuquerque, the headquarters of Portuguese was Cochin. Who changed it to Cochin to Goa? Nuno da Cunha. So the next headquarters is Goa, and this Goa remained until it got freedom from Portuguese in 1970s. I'm not sure, it's around 1960s or the 1970s. I have to verify it. Okay. So in his regime, what happened is, in 1534, the Bahadur Shah of Gujarat asked the help of Portuguese because the Humayun started marching towards the Gujarat. So face him, the Bahadur Shah of Gujarat asked the help of Portuguese. To that favor, he promised the Portuguese that he would give Besants and the Diu to the Portuguese. Okay, but so when in 1534 itself, he gave the Besants to the Besants to the Portuguese. Total revenues, everything was handed over to the Portuguese. But what happened? In 1537, around after that, from the middle itself, not in the 1537, after that, the Humayun retreated, went back to the Delhi. So the Bahadur Shah of Gujarat neglected the other thing which he promised, that is the Diu. So what happened? In this process, there was a quarrel between the Portuguese and the Bahadur Shah of Gujarat. The Portuguese were too angry on the Bahadur Shah of Gujarat. Meanwhile, in the Diu, the locals and the Portuguese started fighting. Okay, on several issues, they started fighting. So the Bahadur Shah of Gujarat thought that to build a partition wall between the settlements of Portuguese and the settlements of locals, which was not liked by the Portuguese. So the Portuguese has invented the Bahadur Shah of Gujarat in 1537 to their ship and killed him. Okay, so by which they got Diu and the control over almost Gujarat. Next, another thing is he is the person who first thought about the East. Okay, he wanted to make a settlement in Bengal. We all know that the Bengal is a rich province, and every Europeans tried to get hold over Bengal. So the same way the Portuguese also tried to get hold over the Bengal, but the Junha thought in a different manner, not by war, because Mughals were strong enough. Then the Indian kingdoms were strong enough to defend themselves, and the Bengal was under the Mughals, the mighty army they have to face. So he thought that first let the Portuguese settle in the Bengal. You want to make the settlements of the Portuguese in Bengal, by which the many clusters comes under the Portuguese, by which he can build a factory by making the Hooghly as the headquarters. It is only an attempt. So he made an attempt. So next, let us go for the conflicts with the Mughals. So up to 1600s, everything was going well, but almost by 1600s, the Portuguese were well settled in India. They got good number of ports in their hands, well settlements in the India. So their attitude started changing. In the first time, their attitude got the change. Totally, their attitude got changed. What happened? They started doing several illegal activities in India. One of such illegal activities is the slave trade. They started to get hold of Hindu children and the Muslim children, and they started the slave trading. In this process, they have kidnapped the slaves of Mumtaz Mahal, that is the wife of Shah Jahan, Mumtaz Mahal, by which Shah Jahan got the angry and he went on a war with the Portuguese and destroyed the total settlements of Portuguese in Hooghly and hand over the total Hooghly. And they have sent back the total Portuguese from the Bengal province. In this process, Shah Jahan has lost the 1,000 men and 400 captives were taken to the Delhi, that is Agra, and they were offered to take Islam or to take slavery. That is it. Okay. So by which they lost the favor with the Mughals. And also, several other factors contributed for the decline of Portuguese, which we will take in the next coming classes. That is, we are going to discuss about the the Danes, English, Dutch, French. So there are several conflicts with the other European nations. So we will talk in that classes about what are the conflicts between the English and the Portuguese, who favored, who lost the territories. We will discuss further. Okay, right now. Next, I already mentioned you one of the reason for finding the sea route is to spread Christianity. Okay, there should be a religious policy, right? So what is the religious policy of Portuguese? In the starting, they want to concentrate on the Muslims. That is their bitter envy. The main envy was to them is Islam, that is Muslims. So they started doing atrocities on Muslims and favored Hindus. But slowly after they came to a political power, that is some territories came under their hold, they even started doing atrocities on Hindus also. Okay. So that is their attitude. So what happened? In 1579, the then Mughal ruler, who is the then Mughal ruler? Akbar. Okay. He is mainly a person who questions the theology. Like any religion, he treats equally and ask the questions about the religion. Okay. He wrote a letter to the Goa church asking to send two priests. And Portuguese thought that this is a good chance to them to convert the Mughal emperor to the Christianity. So they don't want to miss this opportunity. So they has chosen two people. That is Aquaviva and Antonio. Aquaviva, Antonio Montserrat. And these people reached the Fatehpur Sikri in 1580. In 1580. Okay. They were in the court for 3 years. It is up to 1583. But they were failed to convert the Akbar to the Christianity. After them, this is called as the first mission. The second mission took place in 1590-92. The second mission. In this mission also they got failed. There is nothing much to remember in the second mission. The same process as the first mission. The Akbar asked to send someone. The second mission went on. Again, there was a third mission. Okay, in 1595, there again Akbar wrote a letter to send someone. So in the third mission, this time they want to strongly convert him to Christianity. Okay, so they sent the father Xavier and the Emmanuel to his court, but they failed to do so. They failed to convert Akbar to the Christianity, but they were successful in formulating the secular policies. That is, while Akbar formulating the policies, they influenced him such that they get some favor. Formulate the secular policies. Got it? This is their religious policy. This is their religious policy. So, what are the contributions? So everyone should contribute something, right? Even English contributed, French contributed. But in the same way, what are the contributions of Portuguese? So, some of the contributions are, they introduced the tobacco, coffee, cashew nuts, potato, etc. to India. And in 1556, they first set up the printing press in Goa. In 1556, they first set up the printing press in Goa. That is the first printing press in India. Okay, this is an important bit for several competitive examinations. This will be the direct bit, or it can be a statement. 1556, the first printing press was established in India at Goa by Portuguese. In 1556, in 1563, a book named Indian Medicinal Plants. A book named Indian Medicinal Plants, written by an European, unknown author, was printed for the first time. These are the contributions by the Portuguese. Got it? I hope you all understood the topic. Okay, in the next classes, we will discuss about the English, French, Dutch, Danes, and everyone. Okay, we will go in an order. Okay, while discussing about those people, again we will come back to the Portuguese, because there are several conflicts between these Europeans itself for the supremacy over India. Okay, so what are any wars were fought between the Portuguese and other people? We will see in a chronology. Got it? So next we are going to see the questions that were asked in the previous examinations. Okay, let's see the first question. So, who among the following was the first European to come to India? Okay, who among the following was the first European to come to India? Option A, Portuguese. Option B, British. Option C, French. Option D, Dutch. Option E, Dutch. Got it? So what would be the answer? The answer is Portuguese. Okay. The answer is Portuguese. C. I already said the chronology is very important. The bit can also be asked as what is the chronology of Europeans coming to India? So, what is the chronology of Europeans coming to India? They will ask the option A 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, B 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. Okay, they might give like this 4 options and they might ask the chronology. So, what is the correct answer? A, because the first people who came to India was Portuguese, next Dutch, next English, next Danes, next is French. Got it? So, next question. Who among the following discovered the Cape route from the Europe to India? What is the Cape route? Cape route is nothing but this way. The sea route via Cape of Good Hope is known as Cape route. So, option 1, Christopher Columbus. No. He invented America. Next, Vasco da Gama. Yes, he is the person who invented the route of, Cape route from Europe to India. But never answer in such way, because in history, sometimes there will be the best answers. Okay, there will be the best answers. In history, the question reading is very important. Very, very, very important, because there will be some controversial questions. In history, some controversial questions will be, because in one historian will write in one way and another historian will write in another way. Okay, so in histories there will be some questions which are very controversial questions. So because to answer perfectly, to accurately, because to precision, okay, we have to read everything, every part of the question, and told every options. Okay, got it? Never answer like that. See other options too. So, Magellan and Americo Vespucci. These are the direct bits. You can answer them very easily. Got it? So, who is the person here who traveled from Cape of Good Hope? Is nothing but we have two options. You can use the elimination process also. From the bits, we have only two options. One is Bamilo Divas and next is Vasco da Gama. These are the only two people who crossed the Cape of Good Hope. That is, one came up to Cape of Good Hope. Okay, and another crossed the Cape of Good Hope. Here you have two options. Okay, see. So in this, the first one is not there. So answer is Vasco da Gama. Okay, blind. Then what if the two names, that is Diva's name and Vasco da Gama's, who are there in the option? What you read perfectly. The question we have to read perfectly. Here he asked the Cape route from Europe to India. The Cape route from Europe to India was found by Vasco da Gama. But the first person, that is the Matthew Divas, has reached only up to the Cape of Good Hope. He didn't come to India. That is why the answer is Vasco da Gama. The next question. Who among the following navigator helped Vasco da Gama to find his way from Africa to India? I already said you. A fisherman will help him near Madagascar. Okay. His name is Ahmad bin Mazid. Ahmad bin Mazid. Okay. See, there is a controversy over him, because some say that he is from Oman. Some books say that he is from Gujarat, a Gujarat fisherman. Some books say that he is a Kerala fisherman. A fisherman belongs to the Kerala. But almost all books prefer the same name. So the answer is Ahmad bin Mazid. Okay, got it? Please keep this point in the mind. Okay. Next question. Which of the following Portuguese governor in India who introduced the policy of imperialism? We have studied about the policy, blue policy and white policy. What is this policy of imperialism? It's nothing but the policy of imperialism is nothing but it's white policy. So, who is the person who formulated the white policy? Nothing but Alfonso de Albuquerque. Okay, Francis de Almeida. It is the blue policy. So the right answer is Francis de Albuquerque. Sorry, got it? By which we also covered the questions part also. So almost in history, you have two options. You will get sometimes a direct question, sometimes in the statements. Okay, don't worry. We have to be cautious about the statements. Thank you. Have a nice day.